Hi, everyone. Welcome to Menopause Chats. I am Erin DeRusca. Today, I have a very dear friend that I have stayed in touch with over many, many years, Nicki, who is joining us. We met in college. Actually, I don't know if you remember this. We met my senior year of high school because
Yes,
I came to tour the university and you were at the table for the radio station, and then you let
yes,
me go on air, I believe.
yes. I remember that. I'm pretty sure I do remember that. We may even have pictures of it somewhere
Yeah,
with you
yeah.
coming to the tables. Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you for being a part of this. So
I'm
tell
happy.
me, now that we're women of a certain age,
Yes.
where are you in your journey here?
Well, I'm 52. I started uh, pretty much menopause, really. I want to say I started having perimenopausal symptoms probably around 40 or so. By 45, I was done. So I had a very early menopause. So I've been
In and out.
done in and out. Now, ever since then, I have had a lot of the typical low estrogen issues. And I've had a lot of like the hot flashes and all that. I went through that earlier, and every once in a while one will hit me, but that was maybe about a 5 year period. It was like off and on. But my all of my issues now are I mean I'm doing pretty well. I think a lot of me doing pretty well is not so much that I have all of my low estrogen issues under control, so much as I am just generally accepting of myself a good bit more than I think I was before. And I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's part of it.
It is, right? That lady did that I don't care club and it blew up, right?
I have been watching her since her very first one.
Yeah.
And she's right. She's absolutely right. And she's, good for her
Yeah.
because she's adorable and it's true. And all these, everybody else is posting the same thing. And it's true though. I mean, of course we care, but we don't want to care.
Or we
We
don't care in
shouldn't
the
be
same
expected
way.
to care. We care in a different way. Yeah, we care. We care in the way that the people that are closest to us are still going to be taken care of as they need to. But anything extraneous just
Yeah,
is irrelevant.
I feel like it's like I care about not what people think of me. I care
Mm-hmm.
about being a nice person and not being
Mm-hmm.
a jerk. But like if you don't like me because you think I'm weird because I do Reiki or something, whatever, okay,
Yeah.
I don't care.
That's it. That's a you issue.
Yeah.
That's not a me issue.
Right. Yeah.
Your opinion of me is none of my
Right.
business.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love
Yeah.
that quote so much. It's like, yeah, what you think of me is none of my business.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I feel a lot better, even though like our bodies have sabotaged us. There's so many annoying issues and everything that go on, but I feel like my attitude about it is much more comfortable and positive than it was.
Yeah.
I like myself a lot more now, overweight and uncomfortable and with all these other issues than I did when I was in my 20s and in pretty good shape and nothing really to complain about, but I still complained about everything. So it's like I had, if only that girl had this mindset, but it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't.
You have to live through it
Yeah.
in order to realize how silly we were.
I know. I think of the same thing. I was like, wow, like what wasted energy I had.
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
think we kind of talked about this a little bit beforehand, right? Like, I don't have the energy to waste on that anymore.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
So
And
it's
I have to look at things even with conversations. I had a conversation with my mom and we started talking about something, someone, somewhere, and she was trying to suggest the exact moment, and we both agreed that it's not important. Like, let's not waste, we got the point. It was like once you start trying to figure out the exact,
we're good.
let's move on. We
Yeah.
can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, we
And
don't
so
need to rehash.
we also talked a little bit beforehand too about like one, your own personal experience with ADHD, but also like
Mm-hmm.
more women our age are now getting diagnosed with ADHD.
Yes.
Love to hear your perspective there.
So, well, thank you. I'm happy to give my perspective on this. Um, I find it fascinating that a lot of the dialogue is that why all of a sudden are all these people, so everybody has ADHD now, and it's not that everybody suddenly has it. We those of us that have been diagnosed with it have always had it, and as we learn more about what it is now, we know we've always had it, and a lot of us, I think, mourn the fact that we weren't diagnosed sooner and we weren't medicated, if that's the route people have taken sooner, to be able to go, in a lot of cases, a completely different path. I would not be where I am doing what I am today had I been medicated as a child, or as not so much as a child, but as a young adult, at all these different phases. For better or for worse. I have no regrets, but even when you say you have no regrets, you still can't help but wonder how different would things be had this been, had I not, more than anything, it's given me the ability to give myself some grace and realize that this is just the way my brain works, that I have all of these things that have made me me. So I can appreciate them, but it's frustrating. It's pretty hard. I think a lot of us also, during lockdown, I know that's whenever I really started really pursuing a diagnosis, because that's when all the TikTok therapists started showing up and telling you, that if you do this and do this, then you may do this. Talking about so many women being the inattentive version of ADHD, so that ours is really more internalized. So, for example, when we were in school, the young boys, all the little boys were bouncing off the walls. They put them on Ritalin because they were a problem. They were distracting. So that's how they were mostly categorized, where the little girls were more internalized. We were the dreamers. We were maybe lazy. We weren't paying attention. We just weren't, it was hard for us to focus. And a lot of us were creative types. So a lot of us were writers, or in my case, I was a writer, but mostly music. And everything really was pushed in that direction. And as I got older and still did more with music and had other jobs that didn't quite work out, and eventually fell into music as my full-time profession, it is really fascinating that people would say, even my family, like, oh, well, yeah, Nicki's late, but she's a musician. Oh, it's just Nicki, she's head in the clouds. Oh, it's just, no, that's just, but wasn't like, even though it was, oh, it's just Nicki and they're smiling, it's still negative, and it still hurts you that this part of you that can't be on time and sees 5 minutes and tries to shove 30 minutes worth of prep into those 5 minutes, and then agonizes over being late all the time, is, that it is a negative for everybody. So being diagnosed really ultimately was a blessing for me. Being medicated was definitely a blessing for me. The first day that I took a stimulant, all the bees in my brain and the constant dialogue and everything happening in my head went completely silent, and it was a complete shock to me, that I was able to just focus linearly on things. I've heard it described a whole bunch of different ways, but most people, from what I understand, look at a list, I guess, kind of like horizontally, and that you can say, okay, this is the first thing on the list, second thing on the list, and you can process it. Where people with ADHD or other types of issues like this see that entire list as vertical, and everything is equally as important, and everything is barraging you at the same time. Mm-hmm. So when you stare at it like that, it just makes it impossible to even start, because you don't know. Even if it says number one, it doesn't matter. Number one and number six are like equal in your brain. So it's the first time I took medication and was actually able to do things linearly. It was just, I don't know, it was like a miracle.
Yeah,
it really was. And then once again came the idea of, wow, I could have been processing things this way for 40 plus years, right, instead of just the last 4,
And we talked about too, it's like people are still successful despite, right? Like, because
absolutely,
I think that I've seen that sometimes in the workplace when people get diagnosed, there's pushback where it's like, well, that person has a PhD. There's no way they have ADHD. It's like, no, that doesn't, just because they have a PhD doesn't mean that,
no, it's because mostly because, and it's it's even, I don't want to say it's more impressive because it's not a contest,
Right.
but people that look at people with PhDs or with, a high degree of success and they're diagnosed with ADHD, what that means is that they've had to like overcome all of these obstacles in their brain to processing and actually getting things done. So they've done more work along with masking and pretending like they're just like everybody else so that you don't see how, how anxious they are about everything. I A lot of people were shocked when I said that I was, because of me with music, that I mean, I'm a songwriter. I play acoustic guitar and piano, but I work as a full-time acoustic entertainer at the Jersey Shore and in Philadelphia, and I was in Pittsburgh and everything. And I play over 200 shows a year, and I know thousands of songs, lyrics, and chords, and I take great pride in what I'm capable of doing. But that's my hyper focus. So music is the thing that I can channel all of this into. Um, I forget to make every doctor's appointment I'm supposed to go to. If I don't have things, thank God for phones with calendars, or I wouldn't remember anything. And that's not exaggerating. Like I will sit down and look at something for 5 minutes and 4 hours have passed and I have no idea where it went. So it's, it's misunderstood. It's definitely becoming a lot more understood and more accepted. And I mean, I kind of thank the younger generations and their welcoming of mental health
Yeah.
discussions, because I mean, we didn't talk about
No.
mental health issues. If somebody was taking Prozac back in the day, you looked at them funny. You were like, oh, why are you taking that?
Yeah.
My dog has taken that for most of her life and she's fine, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just the idea that we are finally accepting our differences and
I used to
learning.
joke because when I lived in California for quite a while and was, but I had joked that like, oh, it's almost the opposite, like where we grew up, like having therapy is like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you in therapy? Right.
Exactly.
It's maybe still might be that way a little bit. But in California, it was almost the opposite. It was like, oh, you don't have
Right.
a therapist? What's wrong with you?
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes
Exactly.
it's just like where you grew up and the kind of upbringing, but growing up in a more blue collar area where it's sort of like you tough it out and it's
Yeah,
just
exactly. And that's
really
a Gen
really
X
was.
thing as well.
Yeah.
You tough it out.
Yeah.
You tough it out, you get through it. And I'm very thankful for, like I said, TikTok therapists in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then, being able to really finally talk to people and get it spoken.
Right.
It's really hard for people to get a diagnosis and get medicated though later in life. I was fortunate with the psychiatrist that I was able to find in South Jersey that I talked to about it, and it was fine. But I hear a lot of people say they'll just go to their primary doctors and they'll just poo poo a lot, and the fact that um, medicine for the most part doesn't study women in general, so they pretty much ignore a lot of the stuff that we do. So I mean, that's hopefully starting to change. But the thing with, a lot of people say, well, oh, I do that all the time, or I'm ADHD too, and they throw it around a lot. The difference is that everybody has unfocused moments. Everybody has times where they are more attentive than others, or where they exhibit the same symptoms. The difference is that people with ADHD, it's obviously a lot more often, and it actually makes a negative impact on your life.
Right.
Like, these issues have hurt you in some way, and that's the difference. And that's what you have to prove whenever you're being diagnosed, that you actually have had problems because of this. And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck
Yeah.
in.
And I
Just,
think if people aren't talking about it and this is how you are, then you just assume it's normal, right?
mm-hmm.
You don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
So, and I liken it to the dumbest thing in the world, which was I had TMJ because growing up, nobody told me I shouldn't keep our teeth together all the time. And
Right.
so I literally like caused jaw pain. I've learned since to like through biofeedback and stuff to relax it. But like, again, it's just something you don't tell people.
Right.
Like I said, the dumbest example.
No, it's the same as it's same as reading books and listening to books.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
words,
but
right?
when
like,
the
oh, I
way
don't know how to
words,
say this word, right? Because
yeah,
I
you'll hear
read it.
people say confidently
Yeah.
a word and confidently mispronounce it because they've never heard it. They've only read it.
Mm.
And it's, yeah, exact same thing.
Yeah. And
It's,
how do you see like the brain fog? Because like I definitely notice brain fog for myself because you were talking about
mm-hmm,
making lists or whatever, having to write things down. I will like literally tell a client, like, wait, you just asked me to do something. I need to actually put it on my list right now
mm-hmm,
while it's still here. Because if I don't, and I was never like that before. So I know
right.
I noticed this shift for myself. I mean, I have a
Sure.
tool to keep me on track, so it's fine. But yeah, I'm just curious how those two interact, how those two experiences, if you experience it, and how they interact
I
with.
don't know the difference of it because I would say the the perimenopausal brain fog probably exacerbated
Mm.
some of my focus issues. Um, but mine were pretty bad to begin with. So I don't know that I really differentiated between the two. It's either a coincidence that it all happened at the same time,
Yeah,
along with lockdown,
right.
honestly. You know what I mean? And the fact that we were sitting, unfortunately, eating and drinking our faces off for a good bit of that time. And,
I
you know,
enjoyed some wine
and
during.
staring, and it's staring at our phones and, yeah, doing a lot of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. It's completely off topic, but like because you make your living as a musician and going
Mm-hmm.
out playing, like that wasn't around. So
Right.
how did you cope with that?
So I I'm weird in a lot of ways. So before COVID, I want to say it was probably 2015, I started doing a lot of live streaming of my gigs. I used almost exclusively the Periscope app. Periscope was owned by Twitter at the time and then eventually, but it's similar to Facebook Live, but it was its own app. And I started using it to live stream while I was performing. So I would be performing, and it was mostly gigs in restaurants where people weren't paying attention. If I had a full audience, I wasn't talking to my phone in front of me, but a lot of them were more like wallflower kind of things. So I would have my phone set up, and I built a community and everything with that. So I was very comfortable live streaming for years before lockdown happened. So when lockdown happened, I had a whole slew of gigs that were supposed to happen and didn't. And my hyper focus allowed me to translate all of those live gigs that were being canceled into live streaming shows. And I set up my basement with I have my ring light that I'm using right now. It's, giving me a nice little glow and everything. But I set up a backdrop, and I guess this is my communications degree working too with like my radio video production that I never used ever, but I used it during lockdown. And I had signs for all the venues that I was supposed to be playing at. So I would live stream when I was supposed to be gigging.
Mm.
And I would do it in conjunction with the venue. So I would tell them, hey, I'm going to live stream during this time. So if you want, I said, if you want to share it with all your people, and we can encourage people to watch, and I can encourage people to go to you and pick up wine, even though you're closed, you're still selling the wine and all that. So it worked with a lot of those venues. So I still would live stream at least 2 or 3 times a week. And a lot of people, not lost in the very beginning, people would Venmo. That's when we all learned how to use Venmo. Would Venmo me tips with song requests, and they got pretty elaborate. I have some really elaborate live streams that I did. Some of them for like hours and hours on end, and it would just become a really fun conversation as well as the show, because I was able to see the dialogue. So if you were watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or anything else, all the community chat would pop up on the screen, so everybody could communicate with each other, and they would have like full on discussions, and someone would tell jokes and while I'm singing, and it was pretty cool. Like I managed to make it work. So
Yeah, I was just wondering because like I have a like an office job, so it's like for me, working from home is it was no different than working in the office, right? So,
sure,
and I have not gone back, and I enjoy working from home immensely.
yeah,
So, yeah, I just wondered. Yeah, I was just wondering. I was like, oh, I'm like, how did that work?
yeah.
So, what do you like? Is there anything you wish you had known prior to going through this experience? Like, I wish someone would have told me this.
Well, I would say, hmm, I feel like I was warned about a lot.
Hmm.
Um, I was, well, you can be warned about hot flashes, but until it actually happens, that might be similar to like childbirth, where people say, a lot of women that go through childbirth say there's a reason that nobody tells you what it's really like, because nobody would have children if they knew what it was really like when you actually have them, which I don't know, but I've heard that said on multiple occasions. Um, but yeah, hot flashes were fun.
Yeah. Didn't you tell me a story once about like someone you were live streaming from
Yes,
your gig?
yes, yes, yes. My girlfriend Donna. Oh, so what would happen is I would feel really pretty on my live stream, and like we look at ourselves on there, and you're like, oh, I look good, different stuff. And I would have a hot flash, and it would be like my face was just melting. And while you're live streaming, and I'm sure everybody sees this on Facebook Live, you can tap on the little hearts, and you can give people money if you want to, or you can comment. And my girlfriend would just comment like a little haha, because she could see it. Like she knew I was hot flashing like easily. And it would be like the worst possible time. So I'm singing and my whole body is like, feels like it's just going to completely implode at any point. But you could physically see me
Yeah.
just melt everything. Yeah, this is happening. I'm still singing.
Yeah. Great. Um, is there anything you feel that's helped you the most, like during the transition?
um, I I am on the combi patch. So that's like the estrogen and progesterone patch. I've only on that since January or so. So it's fairly new. I've read a lot of people, saying don't do this, don't do that. I've tried a couple different like supplements that I saw online, like Instagram ads for things that are going to help you, and none of them did anything at all, really. I
I
do
never
feel
give that person money.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe I gave all those people. I mean, I'm a sucker for ads for sure. And I'm looking around the house because I haven't been here for a while, and I ordered those magnetic lashes. I was hoping
Oh,
to have magnetic lashes on, but I don't see them. So they either didn't arrive or they're hidden. They're hidden somewhere. But I was
I
like,
just jumped on the weighted vest bandwagon.
oh.
Yeah.
So I saw people. I was walking on the boardwalk the just Tuesday, and the girl, my girlfriend I was walking with, she's mentioned the weighted vest thing. I had no idea it was a thing.
Oh yeah, it's like a thing. And I was like, all right, I'm in now.
So what is the point though? Is it just like
Well, it's supposed to help
ankle?
with, I mean, because as we age, we lose bone density and stuff. So the adding the extra weight when you're doing low impact stuff, no, don't run with it on, but like, doing low, it's supposed to help like, with your bone density and stuff, allegedly.
Really?
So
So it's just pretty much like ankle weights
yeah, yeah,
and just
80s.
strapping anything on you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, I jumped on that bandwagon. I was like, I am officially, I think I put it on and said to my husband, I was like, I'm officially a middle-aged lady. Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
like it's me. Like this is it. So and
Let
he
me
goes, well, what's
let
funny
me
is
or
let me know
let
when
me
you're
order
50,
that right now.
right? He's like, let me
Yeah.
know when you're 50. And I was like, I am 50. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Middle-aged yet. I was like, oh no, I am. So yes, I jumped on that bandwagon. So we'll see. Have I worn it? Not necessarily, but I own one.
Hey, that's a start.
Start, right? Yeah, you can't
That's
you
a
can't
start.
use it unless you have one.
That's the It's another ADHD problem, is that I order things and then I forget that I have them, and I'll go through a Doom box, one of my boxes that has a craft that I bought that I never. You know, I researched and did all this, but what happens is, you get all the dopamine from planning and buying it and getting all excited, and in your head you've already done the craft, so you don't actually have to physically
You
do
just
it. So
buy
then
the
that
stuff,
box just goes somewhere else. Yeah. So I have lots of little surprises that I'm like, very nice, very nice.
nice. Is there anything else you want to share that we haven't talked about?
As far as I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like women just need to stick with each other,
Yeah.
and I feel like we need to talk about it. Like we mentioned, the "We Do Not Care" woman, and how awesome that is. But what's the best part is about it is that it's making people talk. It's making people open up about this, just like your podcast. We're opening up and talking to women. So talk to the women in your lives, because that's the only way we are really going to learn about ourselves too, because doctors don't necessarily speak to us the right way. Men aren't going to understand,
Right.
even if they try. It's just different. We're all going through different things. So I feel like we just need to support each other and kind of learn to be good listeners to each other,
Yeah.
because I don't, there, we're not bombarded with the right answers. So we have to like discover them with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, well, it's a good thing we have communications degrees. So,
Exactly. Exactly. That I use to sing in bars,
right.
but hey,
If so, I'll give you an opportunity. Where can people find you musically?
okay. Everything for me is acoustic Nicki. So acoustic Nicki.
I'll put it in.
And that's my website, my link tree, my everything for me is acoustic Nicki. And I play all over the Philly area and South Jersey and the Jersey Shore, everything south of Atlantic City for the most part. Sometimes I get back to Pittsburgh and we'll play a random show at a brewery, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I do. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a
I
challenge,
mean, like that, like I said, I've always known you as a musician. So,
Yeah, singing in the quad with my
yeah.
guitar, trying to pick up boys, trying to be the mysterious girl with the guitar.
Right. But you actually could do it. So that's
Well,
just
yeah,
a thing. Yeah.
I did marry a sound guy,
There
so
you go.
that worked. Yeah.
So, well,
I
thank
know.
you so much for being a part of this. I appreciate it. And thank you all for watching. If anybody is interested in being on, please message me. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me, Erin.